Good morning. Welcome to Extension Connection. You are joined today with the Burleigh County staff, and we have a special guest with us today. I'm Amelia, a 4-H youth development agent in Burleigh County, and I'm joined today by Shaundra.
Hi, good morning, everybody. My name is Shaundra Ziemann-Bolinske. I'm the Family and Consumer Sciences agent in Burleigh County, and we're so delighted to have our director.
Well, it's good to be here.
Yeah.
So my name's Chris Boerboom. I'm the director for the North Dakota State University Extension Service.
Yes.
And I work out of Fargo, so it was good to drive over this morning.
Yeah.
Did it get warmer as you drove this way?
I didn't really notice
No.
that.
Maybe
gas
brighter.
prices get higher. That's about all that changes.
That is true.
So we have a variety of stuff to talk about today. One of the big things we're going to talk about is extension and what is extension, kind of what we do. If you're a regular to our show, you hear a lot of the different stuff we talk about, from youth development to food safety, health nutrition, ag and natural resources, horticulture. But what does that all mean? And what is extension? So we brought in the expert, Chris, and he is going to talk to us all about what is extension.
Well, that's a big issue.
Right.
The big topic. But extension is really a remarkable system that was launched over 100 years ago. Nationally, they talk about the cooperative extension system, and cooperative talks about kind of the three parts of extension. There's kind of a federal part that actually got us kicked off, and then we're partners with the state, and we operate out of the land-grant university, which is North Dakota State University in our case, here in North Dakota. And then we have the third partner is a partnership with the counties. And so we have partnerships with all the counties across the state, and Burleigh County is a classic example of that, and working with you guys as well.
Yeah, we have, in our office, we have Shaundra, who's our Family Consumer Science agent, myself, who focuses on 4-H, and then we have an Ag and Natural Resource agent. And then we also have, we're fortunate in Burleigh County to have an FNEP FNP, which is Extended Food Nutrition Program, food nutrition program,
Right.
Educator in our office. So Deb, who I think has been on the radio, it's been a while since she's been on the radio, but deals a lot with lower income nutrition education. So we have a wide variety. We're lucky in Burleigh County to have all of that. And so that leads itself well into making impacts in a lot of areas.
Right.
And so, Amelia, as you were talking about the resources that you have here in Burleigh County, which is fabulous, you also are then tied into a network that's much bigger than Burleigh County, or much bigger than Morton County. I'm going to turn this around. Could you describe a little bit of your support network that you lean on?
Yeah. Well, in the 4-H world, there's not many counties who have 4-H agents that's their sole focus. And so we are, while I am based in Burleigh County, I do programs and I help fellow agents all across the state. Just earlier this week, I had a call from a agent on the eastern side of the state asking about, how do you run your council meetings? What's your bylaws? Like, what do you do? She's an Ag and Natural Resource agent. They went from having 25 members in their entire county to having over 90. And she's like, I have more clubs. I don't know what to do. And so in addition to me being a resource for them, I also lean on other 4-H agents because we may not have, we have livestock judging teams, but not like some of the other counties. So if I want to get a livestock judging team going, I know that there are certain agents that I can call and be like, hey, I am not the person to talk about conformation of a beef cattle. Like, I don't even know what that means. So what kind of resources can you hook me up with? And on the broader state, we have agents in all the counties, but then we also have state specialists. And those state specialists really hone in on those different areas. In 4-H, we have several that are 4-H specialists that, one focuses on citizenship and leadership. One does volunteer development. One does livestock management. And so it's nice to, when somebody calls the office and says, hey, I want to get a range judging team going. And you're like, I not the person for that. We have such a wide variety of specialties in the state that we can really lean on. And that's just in 4-H. I know FCS has a ton of specialists and resources as well.
And, to get into the FCS side, and, we all work together, but really we give names to our program areas because we all have different areas of expertise. And the beauty of Extension is that we come together with our backgrounds to help solve issues that we may be responding to, or even I love our piece in the preventive side. It's hard to put a dollar amount on your preventive work, but we know that it's exponentially, necessary both in dollars and in behavior to focus on before problems happen. So preventive education. So an example of how it all comes together, we have a specialist in, her office happens to be in Fargo, and her background, she's a dietitian. She went on and, she's actually PhD as well. And an example of how 4-H and youth development can come together with the food, nutrition, and health side. So she has developed a program, and it is now funded through the National Center for 4-H. And so she's actually nationally known for a program that is going on here in North Dakota.
And Burleigh County is one of the largest.
I do have to say.
You need to toot your own horn a little.
Yeah,
you put
all
a lot of work
right.
into that.
Yeah, I do have to. Okay, so for example, we impact about 3,000. I just have her. We write impact statements, and so if you're wondering, if we can put a dollar amount or a percentage to a program, we actually strive to do that so that we can toot our own horns. So she has written her impact statement. 3,040 kids impacted by this health, physical activity, and nutrition program. Just about 1,000 are here in Burleigh County, thanks to our Bismarck Public Schools partners.
Yeah. So that's just incredible. The partnerships that you have here in the county, working with other agents, and then having that support of the specialist within the Extension organization. And that's just, and we kind of serve as the outreach part of NDSU. So we're bringing research or science-based information all across the state.
Right. Well, and I think Jim is telling us we need to take a quick break here. Oh, now you have 30 seconds.
Yeah. Okay.
So we're going to take a quick break, but when we come back, we'll talk a little bit more about some of the partnerships. Shaundra touched a little on one of the partnerships, but really there's so many people in the state and there's so few agents. We can't touch everyone. And so we have to use those partnerships to make the best of our impact. So we'll talk a little bit about that when we return from our break.
Right now, 22.
Here's Sean Hannity, weekday afternoons on SuperTalk 1270.
All right, welcome back to the Extension Connection. You are joined today by Amelia and Shaundra from Burleigh County and Chris from the powers that be. That's what we refer to you guys. the state office.
Our fearless
of
leader.
Extension.
Yes.
So before the break, we were talking about impacts, and we touched briefly on some of the partnerships we have. And any program in Extension where there's a lot of wheels on the ground, chances are there's partnerships involved. And that could be partnerships across county lines. Being where we are in Burleigh County, we partner quite a bit with Morton County to offer programming. And then, or it's a partnership with a state specialist. But one of the biggest ones we do that I think oftentimes people don't realize is partnerships with other agencies. And so Shaundra had mentioned Bismarck Public Schools is a huge partner with the On the Move to Better Health program. And Shaundra, how many, I'm going to kind of put you on the spot here, how many nurses do you, because you train all the nurses who go and educate these kids. It's quite a huge, I mean, you have like 50, is it 15, 20?
No, it's actually about half that. And I have to say, thanks for asking me that, because it's, I have to look back at my reference. It's either 6 or 7 public school nurses. These nurses, my friends, I think it's, and I'm talking elementary school specifically, so we're teaching 4th graders, physical activity and nutrition program called On the Move to Better Health. And so these teachers serve 1, sometimes 2, sometimes 3 schools in one day, every single day, because typically at any given school, there's usually at least one type 1 diabetic youth that they can't administer their own insulin. And so these nurses are busy, serving usually more than one school, and they have agreed to also teach our youth good habits about nutrition. We'll get into why we need to do that, because our numbers are staggering across the nation, and here, unfortunately, even in North Dakota, on how many overweight and obese, people are in our population. And so we want to get kids off on the right foot. We not only have the Bismarck Public School nurses, we have Bismarck Burleigh Public Health and their dietitian there, Katie Jonke. She's my right-hand person. We partner with her a lot, and I know everything that comes out of that office is going to be quality work. We also have, she's decided to stay at home with her kids. She's a registered dietitian with the state as well, but she doesn't work full-time. We have tapped her to do the private schools. So we have some great private schools in Burleigh County. Thank goodness we have her as a great resource too. And so it's actually one of the situations where if we didn't have the network, I always say we can't build a house. I could not build a house on my own. We know we have an issue, and we struggle with that duplication of services comment. If you have big issues, you need big infrastructure, right, Chris? I mean, you probably hear this.
Well, so what I'm hearing you say is that people are coming to us or asking us to come to the table to help with some of these really complex issues. We can't a single group, a single organization can't tackle it by themselves.
That's right.
And they're coming to Extension for our educational capacity and for our research or science-based information to help tackle these issues. So we do it in partnership. We can bring the training, we can bring the curricula, we can, and in other counties that may not have these types of nurses to help support, go into the school districts and to provide some of that critical information to start addressing some of these big, complex, hairy issues.
Right. That's exactly right. And I just heard somebody say, we need Extension. It was a group of dietitians, because I work a lot with that population. And she said, we need Extension because you guys are so polished when you come in and talk about a subject. We bring the education in addition to, as you mentioned, the science-based information, research-based information, sometimes even evidence-based. So that's the big.
Well, and I think that's one of the big things with Extension is we're not trying to sell a product. We're not trying to get you to take a certain supplement. We're providing that education, and it's non-biased. And that's, I feel, as an Extension agent, maybe I'm a little biased on Extension is the place to get your information. But it's because of that base on research. And that's what Extension was why Extension was started. Yeah. Extension was started because the universities had all of this knowledge, and people were like, well, we want that knowledge, but I don't know how to read a journal article.
Right.
So we needed a way to get it out to the people.
Yeah.
And you're exactly right, that was the impetus for creating Extension. And it's kind of interesting thinking about a state like North Dakota. Here we are, kind of a breadbasket. We have 5-6% of our population that's involved in producing food. We have 100% of our population that's involved in consuming food. And we produce some really nutritious foods coming off these farms, but we need to help. Sometimes we need to help folks understand how they can live healthy. And so I was looking at some data, and it's really quite shocking to me, Shaundra, and you can comment on this. So our obesity rate right now is, I read, 32%.
Right.
And then
and that's North Dakota.
That's North Dakota. And back in 1990, it was 12%. So it's changed a lot. And so it seems like there's a big need. What's the biggest payoff for eating healthier? How does the public benefit from this?
Okay, this is an excellent question. I mean, significant swing. It's almost 3 times the obesity rate now in a few decades, but
Yeah.
maybe just
20,
one or
27
two
years.
generations. That's it. I mean, so very concerning. And the huge payout, I mean, just give you an example. I'm going to work through an example. And this brings the beauty of extension into one. I think we illustrate a lot of different points with this example. So last week, a week and a day ago, so Monday, two days ago, a week and 2 days ago, I see a quick an email that said ASAP answer, please. And it was one of our leaders from the North Dakota Department of Health, and she heads up the diabetes prevention program with the Department of Health. And so she works with agents or lifestyle coaches across the state in prevention of type 2 diabetes. I don't know, folks, if you realize that you can actually prevent the onset of type 2 diabetes. So right now, if you're listening, I'm addressing at least a third of our population, which is really concerning by way of, just simply understanding your blood sugar.
So you mean that roughly a third of the population may be at risk of getting type 2 diabetes?
That's right. That's right. And so currently the number just went down to currently 1 in 4 North Dakotans has pre-diabetes. So you're on your way to type 2 if you don't do something about it. Okay, so 1 in every 4 have pre-diabetes. And so that number fluctuates between 1 in 3 and 1 in 4. Okay, right now we might have been doing some headway because it went down to 1 in 4. So that's good. So she said, listen, a big organization in the state has come to me because it costs a significant amount of money for them to insure people if they are diabetic. So think the insurance costs. We can put a dollar amount to that. Okay.
You mean because of medication that they'd need to take?
Yes. Doctor's appointments. It's a pretty big number that it's thousands of dollars a year to insure somebody with diabetes. And so it's in the insurance company's, interest to help us take this demographic out. And so what they need from us and our partnership of lifestyle coaches, both within Extension and not,
Other partners.
Sanford, CHI St. Alexius locally, other partners, public health, we are coming together to provide these insurance beneficiaries programs so that they will potentially, and the program is evidence-based, 58% of these individuals will, if they stick to the program, no longer be at risk for type 2 diabetes.
So in other words, I benefit from it because it reduces
where your money's going.
My insurance costs or my insurance premiums aren't going to go up as much.
Yes.
Because
that's right.
Everyone's healthier.
Right.
Yeah.
And we could simply not do this. They want to do 6 sessions, and these sessions are year long. We couldn't do it without our partners. And that's the key here. And so, yes, we have a big issue. And we might have one person who's a lifestyle coach from, one of our big hospitals in town. We also, I might also be a lifestyle coach. However, we couldn't spread the numbers across, with the impact.
So let me ask another question.
Okay.
Then. So if somebody's going through a class like this, or Amelia, you're talking about youth and if they're in schools and programs, so if one family member starts making some changes, do you see ripple effects in others in the family? Do you think? Or
and that's actually how 4-H was started.
Yeah. Okay.
So 4-H was started because they had information they wanted to give to farmers, and farmers, being a little stubborn, didn't want to listen to the man in the suit, right? And so they said, well, if we teach the kids...
Don't talk about me that way. Anyway.
Chris is wearing a suit right now, for those of you not in the studio. They don't want to listen to the man in the suit, and so we're going to teach the kids how to grow corn, how to rotate crops. We're going to teach the kids how to do this, and then that will transfer to the adults. And we see such a big impact. And that all goes back to, why are we teaching kids in 4th grade this On the Move to Better Health? Because if they say, no, Mom, I'd rather have broccoli than cheesecake, which that's a powerful fourth grader. Parents are going to start realizing that, and then those parents are going to also start making that change.
Good example.
So we are going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll talk a little bit more about that transfer of information.
Right now, 22.
On Twitter, Facebook, online, and YouTube. SuperTalk1270.com.
All right, welcome back to the Extension Connection. Before the break, we were talking a little bit about partnerships and impacts and how we do all of that.
How we get it all done.
How we get it all done. There are days that I just don't like to think about how we get it all done because it just makes me tired thinking about it.
Yeah, it's a lot.
But in addition to the partnerships that we kind of talked about, whether it's with the Department of Public Health or, public school nurses, we also have a large group of, I think of volunteers as partners that run the 4-H program. Those volunteers are leaders, whether they're leading a club, whether they're teaching a project day, whether they're helping at the county fair. None of that is possible without volunteers. And I like to remind my volunteers that on a regular basis. We actually had a council meeting on Monday, and there was a lot of discussion about we're getting ready for Achievement Days next year, which seems hard to believe, but we're getting ready for that. And they were like, well, what do you think? And what do you, and really in Extension, yes, it is our job, but part of our job is empowering volunteers. And so empowering the volunteers is kind of twofold. One, there's the I don't have to do it all. And two, and more importantly, is it's providing leadership skills and community engagement for people who maybe don't otherwise get involved in the community. And so volunteers are such a vital role of what we do. And we have volunteers across all areas. You know, volunteers are a big part of the 4-H program, but we also have volunteers that come in and help stuff things to get ready for programs and count incentives for the On the Move program. So volunteers are probably, I would say, one of our biggest partners. Right.
Master Gardeners is another great volunteer organization that Extension works with.
And quick plug for that, we have the new class of Master Gardeners starting up in January. If you're interested in getting more information about Master Gardener, you can go to our website, which is ag.ndsu.edu/Burleigh County, and there's information out there about the Master Gardener program. So.
Yeah, the the model for volunteerism, I mean, I think about it. It's really, it allows you to impact whatever population it is that you're trying to reach on a higher level, because it's that whole concept of, sure, I can probably teach 25 youth in a second grade classroom, but I'd like to teach 25 teachers so they can each teach 25 youth. Right. And it's that systems level impact.
So yesterday I was looking online and I came across one of these great websites that says North Dakota is the #1 state in the nation to raise a family. And so you think about that. So what makes that possible?
Yeah.
What makes North Dakota such a great place to live? And rural communities across the state, or here in Bismarck and Mandan, some of the larger cities, what really makes that possible are the people and the leadership. And so when you talk about volunteers, you are really helping to help them be stronger advocates for the community.
That's right.
To create that quality of life.
That's a good one. And I'm proud to hear that. You read that, by the way. Yeah. Good job, North Dakota.
We know that in positive youth development research that kids need to have at least 3 adult role models that are not family members in their lives. And so if we take that apart, okay, so we look at your typical, William, we talk about him a lot on the radio. He's not listening. He's in kindergarten. He's 6. If you take him and you say, okay, yeah, he has a lot of great people in his life. He has his Aunt Amber. He has his grandma. He has mom, dad. He has Nana. Yeah, he has a great support network and family. But who does he have outside of the family that is a positive adult role model? Teachers, 4-H leaders, right? Maybe a basketball coach when he gets a little older. All of those people, And if you're one of those people, it could even be
Thank
the
you
neighbor
so
next
much.
door.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, because you are making an impact on kids and you may not even realize it. And I think that's one of the great things about the volunteer model that we have in Extension is we're empowering those people. You know, I have a leader who, she grew up in 4-H. She moved here. She didn't have any kids. And she's like, you know what? I want to give back to 4-H. I'll be a club leader. Well, now she has a little daughter. And she's like, I didn't realize how hard it is to be a parent and do it all. Like,
Yeah. So you need a support network.
you need a support network. And, you know, there's that really old saying that says it takes a village. Let Extension be part of that village.
Yep.
So
That's a good one.
So, Amelia, you're talking about 4-H,
Yes.
and as the Extension Director, I just can't help put in a plug for 4-H. It is the greatest program. I was a 4-H'er. My wife was a leader. All my kids went through 4-H. It's amazing, though, that many people don't understand or know that 4-H is actually part of the Extension service.
Right.
And so I just really appreciate the work that you do on behalf of 4-H, that other 4-H leaders and the 4-H'ers themselves, and what they do is truly incredible.
And we see a lot of those kids, you know, they're 4-H'ers and they age out of 4-H, they move on to other things. And they're those people that are coming back into Extension that are like, you know what, when I was 13 and I needed to do a canning project for 4-H, we called the Extension office, and they're who helped us. Or, you know, they're a teacher, and they're looking for someone to come into their classroom. It all ties back together.
Yep. So let me ask another question to both of you. So we talk about you talked about your website, and so you can go and get information online, and that's just incredible what we can do with your smartphone or with your computer to get information. But when we start talking about kids and making good choices, or sometimes adults and making good, healthy choices as well, in your experience, what really helps to have people change some of the decisions that they make, or make better decisions, or just be more informed? What does it really take to have that happen?
Yeah, that's a good one. I tell you, one thing is, okay, and so you can get your information several different ways. So
Like
Chris
Dr.
was
Oz.
mentioning, the TV, or you could Google, and that can be scary if you're, you know, letting your children just kind of freely Google, right? I mean, so that is one way you can get your information. And the nice thing about Extension, and where I like to try and focus my time, are those programs that have been through science-based, you know, a checks and balance system to make sure that it's evidence-based, you know, at least research-based. And typically where we see the biggest level of impact is those sessions. Think of, you know, maybe you were struggling with being a parent at one point, and that's a large number of our population, so that would apply to you. Whatever situation you might be struggling with, we may have done some research on that and created a program. And I like those programs that I see an audience a couple times. And it may sound like, how am I going to find 2 hours or 5 hours in my life, you know, a couple weeks in a row? But that's where we can actually see a behavioral change.
So they're working with you, they know you, they trust you, and so then they're really going to maybe follow up with that information, or really give it a try to see how it works for them, that it works for them.
That's right. I mean, so think about it, that old saying, practice makes perfect. I mean, you're not going to just be, you know, the best free throw shooter if it's the first time you've picked up the ball and you know, put yourself that distance away from the basket. I mean, it's just you. So what happens is, the more often you immerse yourself in good habits, the better you're going to be. And so, you know, sometimes we do have to, in one session, sell what we're doing, honestly, even if the audience needs us there and has a problem that's very relevant. But I love when I can see somebody more often. That's when I can see the most impact.
So those relationships are really critical.
Networking, relationships, whether it's the audience or the instructor.
And Amelia, when you talk about caring adults, that's got to be the same thing with youth and 4-H too.
It is. And our 4-H model is, that frequent contact with caring adults, with other peers. And I've seen it happen firsthand. I had a 4-H'er who, when I started, she was 15. She was one of our older 4-H'ers. She was in my ambassador club, and I got to know her over the years. And then she graduated and she went to college. And then this last year, we had a new 4-H family, and the dad happens to be a professor at UMary. And he said he didn't make the connection between this student in his class and 4-H until he was at Achievement Days and saw her, and it all made sense. He teaches civic engagement, and they had a class project where he said, okay, you need to go out and you need to do a service project. You need to report on it, and then you'll have a 5-minute speech at the end of the semester. And he said everybody in the classroom, eyes got big. They were worried about it, and this particular young lady just sat there and was like, okay, whatever. And she said
done it before.
Yeah, he said it could have gone one or two ways. She could have not been worried about it, or she just really didn't care. Well, at the end of the semester, she had this wonderful presentation, and it all had come together. She had done a wonderful service project, and he said, I wanted to meet her parents and to know what they did. And then I saw her at 4-H. And, parents do have an impact on that, but 4-H really helps those young people. Because as a parent, who wants to listen to your parents? I know when I was growing up, my parents knew nothing, right? And so if it comes from somebody else, even if it's the same thing, same message, kids are going to learn more. So we are going to take a quick break here, and then when we come back, we'll wrap up our show.
Right now, 24.
Dave Ramsey is heard here. SuperTalk 1270.
All right, welcome back to the Extension Connection. You're joined today by Amelia and Shaundra of Burleigh County and Chris from the State Extension office in Fargo.
Yeah.
And before the break, we were talking about all sorts of things. We've talked about a lot of different things in Extension today.
Yeah, Amelia, you talked about 4-H and youth, and we talked about healthy families. And so Extension, has programs that kind of spans from youth to seniors. And perhaps, we think about our communities, rural communities, what makes them strong. Our seniors want to stay in our rural communities as well. Mm-hmm. And so do we have any types of programs that can help seniors stay in their homes, stay in those rural communities?
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about that.
Okay, yeah, and I'll take that one because with Family and Consumer Sciences, we do have an element of human development in family science, and it's a program area that we work with. And, I'm glad you asked that because we do. We serve, birth, talking about benefits of breastfeeding, all the way up to, gerontology and the population that's aging. And we have a couple really amazing evidence-based programs. And one of them is called Stepping On. And so it's amazing how some of us just go through our daily life. We do have struggles here and there, and we think, well, I'm going to have to get through it. There may be something for you. And an example would be if you're starting to lose your balance or maybe your eyesight is failing, we have a program that may prevent you from falling because we know that 40% of people who fall end up having to leave their independence at home and leave their home and what have you. So whether it's assisted living, it might be a change that's not welcome. Stepping On is a 7-week program. Remember, I said I like to see you more than once. Okay, So it's a 7-week program, and we find by the 4th or 5th week, folks are saying, I can't wait to see you next week. So it may seem at first it's hard to find that time to give up, to devote to yourself. So we currently, Vanessa Hoynes, the Morton County FCS agent, and myself, we partner up on this program. We found that it was so popular, we had to offer a second one. So we just started it yesterday. So we have one going on in Bismarck, one going on in Mandan. We always have a wait list. So if you aren't in either of those programs and you're at risk for falling or you're afraid that you might be, at risk for falling, we have a program for that. And so also, I'm just thinking that we have November is probably many months.
Amelia's birthday month.
Okay, fair enough. But right now it is Caregiver Month. And so what we are doing is we are celebrating the 62,100 people in North Dakota that we know are considered caregivers to a loved one. And so that's actually probably about 1 in 10 of our residents are right now stressing, probably feeling like they're alone because their daily life is consumed with caring for somebody. And we realize that there's a stress there, and we've created a program that actually really helps people do something that's very important: take care of yourself. We focus on communication and taking care of yourself because we know that that makes you a better caregiver.
So these caregivers are so important because they help their family members stay in their homes and the family be more successful then.
Right. And, whether it's stay in your home in this case of caregiving or even just being involved as a caregiver when they live in assisted living, actually this program has evolved because we're finding that you may be a long-distance caregiver. So we cover this. You may be what we call a sandwich generation caregiver. And so you may be a parent who's caring for younger children. And now all of a sudden you have to care for your parents. Yep. And so that whole in between, we call it sandwich generation caregiver. You may be caring for your spouse or a child with special needs.
So you talked about 2 excellent programs here. And for folks that are listening, how do they find out about these programs?
Great question. And so the first thing I would refer you to is to check out our website or contact Burleigh County Extension. And so you can find it with your favorite search engine on the internet by typing in NDSU Extension, or we even refer you to Burleigh County Extension. So Google it or Bing it, however you want to find that. We have a great website.
Asks Jeeves
Oh, yeah. I forgot about that one. Well, doesn't he have like a bow tie? He's like a butler. Or call us 701-221-6865. So find your local NDSU Extension office. And I know that this program airs in Bismarck and Mandan. And, that leads me to, Bismarck, Mandan, you're a lucky community because you got to hear Dr. Chris Boerboom, our director of NDSU Extension, chose to come out here to share with you again what Extension does. And so it's always a good reminder. I love these conversations to remind me of what I do for a living even and why.
Yeah. Extension is such a marvelous invention.
Yeah.
We have countries across the world that are trying to create an extension system, but they don't have the system in place. They don't have a land-grant university that has extension as part of it. And so we have people that come from Europe or come from South America that come and learn about extension, how we are organized, the types of programs that we have in agriculture, the youth programs that we have. They want what we have. We've got such a Cadillac system. It's just amazing.
Right. That is so motivating to hear. And Amelia and I have been invited to be a part of the Mayor's Task Force. So Mayor's Seminary is following suit with several other mayors across the state. I know there's one in Fargo as well, a task force. And what the mayor says is creating that soft infrastructure that's so critical. Sometimes we focus on, when we're developing communities, the hard infrastructure. We obviously need, a police officer force to keep us in line, but it's that soft infrastructure that really creates a gold standard.
Yeah. So we need
us,
successful families. We need youth that are engaged and excited in science and technology. We need leaders. We need what you're talking about is that human capital.
That's right.
In our communities.
It could be
that village.
Right. It could be that whole, what do we do when we're stressed? The mental health, opportunities. And so those are good examples. That was motivating to listen to.
Yeah.
So thanks for sharing and and reminding us of our mission.
Yes. Thank you, Chris, for joining us today. And just a reminder to everybody who's listening, as Shaundra mentioned, if you have any questions about anything we talked about today, give us a call at 221-6865. Visit us on the web at ag.ndsu.edu/Burleigh County or on Facebook for NDSU Extension Burleigh County. Those are all places you can find all of our upcoming events, things that are going on, tidbits about National Caregiver Month, all of these things we want to share with you. So connect with us. Let us share them with you. Let us make our community a better place. Anything else to add?
Thanks so much for the invitation to share some time here today. And you've got a couple great extension offices here with great staff.
Thank you.